7 spine-chilling farm horror tales. What we discovered watching us in the fields is sinister. The Greene family thought they were escaping to paradise when they moved to the forgotten town of Hollis Fields. But what lay beyond the shimmering summer air was a dark, whispering terror that watched them from the fields. Sarah Greene, determined to mend her fractured family, felt the ominous tension simmering just beneath the surface. Each twilight brought an eerie chill, making her skin prickle and urging her to keep her children close. One blistering evening, while they struggled to pull weeds from their rebellious garden, the soil shifted unnaturally beneath their hands. It felt alive, pulsating as if something buried deeply breathed in rhythm with their racing hearts. A chill clawed at Sarah's spine when she spotted a shadow darting in the corn, impossibly tall and thin, like a twisted scarecrow. "Did you see that?" she asked Tom, but her husband was quick to dismiss it. "Fatigue," he said, "nothing more." But Sarah's instincts screamed otherwise. "Come on, let's get inside," Tom urged, brushing off the dread hanging in the air. Yet they couldn't shake the feeling that hidden eyes tracked their every movement. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves, the whispers growing louder, as if the fields mocked their presence. Old family lore echoed in Sarah's mind, how her ancestors had once tilled this land, struggling against forces unseen. Days turned into weeks, and soon crops wilted perilously fast, as if the earth itself conspired against them. The antique equipment in the barn began failing when night fell. Metal groaned and creaked, familiar shapes morphing into monstrous silhouettes under the flickering lights. Tom's hands trembled as he tightened bolts, but even he couldn't deny the feel of someone, or something, staring across the dismal landscape. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the full moon hung low in the night sky, shedding an unnatural glow over Hollis Fields, Jake came running, eyes wide, cheeks flushed with terror. "Mom, it's out there!" he cried, pointing toward the fields, the shadows dancing, beckoning. When they ventured out, the wind shrieked, and the sky seemed to pulse. Figures materialized in the gloom, too indistinct yet unmistakably close. A noise shattered the stillness, a wrenching clang from the barn, as if a ghost held sway over its halls. "You shouldn't be here," a guttural voice echoed, slicing through the night like barbed wire. A primal fear gripped Sarah, squeezing her breath from her chest. They stumbled back toward the house, hearts racing, saying skin-deep truths with wide eyes locked in dread. The neighbor they once thought welcomed them into the community now loomed ominously in their mind, a deceptive smile that concealed unspoken horrors. With morning light creeping in, the family stood on the porch, shadows stretching across familiar grounds now fraught with fears. They weren't just trying to escape their lives, they were drawn to a sinister fate, the land's consciousness locking around their fragile family unit. Behind them, the fields whispered, leaning in, holding secrets that perhaps they were never meant to unearth. As the sun climbed higher, its rays barely pushed through the shroud of clouds that hung over Hollis Fields. The morning seemed to hold its breath, the kind of stillness that made Sarah uneasy. The fields stretched wide, a golden maze hinting at both paradise and despair. Her grip tightened around Jake's hand, the boy still shaken from the previous night's terror. "Let's get some breakfast," Sarah said, forcing a smile. She hoped normalcy could ground their unraveling reality. Tom appeared from the back door, looking as haggard as the night before, eyes haunted like shadows devoid of color. "That noise, it kept me up all night. Did you hear it?" Tom asked, worry lines deepening on his forehead. "I did," she admitted, softly, glancing anxiously out toward the barn. "It felt wrong." Despite the gnawing dread, the family sat around the kitchen table, a thin veneer of calm trying to mask their fears. Only the sounds of forks clinking against plates broke the silence until the sudden crash of metal came from outside. Instinctively, all heads snapped toward the window. "What was that?" Jake's voice trembled with trepidation. "It's just the wind," Tom said, though he didn't sound convinced. Sharing glances, Sarah and Jake exchanged a silent agreement. They needed to investigate. "Let's go check it out," Sarah urged, her heart pounding. She led the way, dread curling around her like a vice. Each step felt haunted by unseen eyes, as if the land itself leered, alive and expectant. As they approached the barn, an oppressive weight hung thick in the air. The door creaked ominously, revealing an interior drenched in darkness, the shadows lurking like predators. They stepped inside, Sarah's heart racing. "Stay close," she commanded, gripping Jake's hand tightly. The barn stank of rot. In the dim light, piles of old tools appeared as grotesque sculptures, and Sarah's stomach turned at the sight of a rusted plow propped against the wall, oddly positioned, as if it had been placed there deliberately. "Mom, look!" Jake pointed, his finger trembling. In the far corner, among the hay bales, a figure stirred, but not a man. No, it was something altogether more unsettling. A ghastly form, gaunt and twisted, resembled a scarecrow, sunken eyes gazing into the depths of their souls. "Run!" Sarah screamed, instinct taking over. They bolted, crashing through the door and back outside, hearts pounding like thunder. But as they reached the open air, Sarah felt an unseen force dragging at her heels. "What was that?" Tom yelled, his voice quaking. I don't know," Sarah gasped, looking around frantically, but the field felt alive with laughter, swirling with a sinister atmosphere. In the distance, she spotted figures moving between the rows of corn, shapes too elongated and distorted to be human. Panic seized her. "We have to get out of here, now!" But as they turned to leave, laughter echoed from the fields, a chorus that seemed to rise up from the earth itself. Then, as if a shroud had fallen over everything, the sky darkened, an ominous storm brewing out of nowhere. The winds picked up, whirlwinds of dirt swirling around them, and just a few steps behind, the chorus intensified, drowning the family in a cacophony of chilling giggles. "Mom!" Jake whimpered, eyes wide in terror. "Hold on tight!" Sarah yelled, pushing them forward. But the fields beckoned, a seductive whisper that promised they would never escape. The ground trembled beneath them, tremors of something ancient and powerful awakening. Nothing was as it seemed. They were not just intruders, they were the next chapter in a tale woven deep into the soil of Hollis Fields. As they ran, the shadows stretched, reaching out to grasp them, pulling them back toward the heart of darkness. What lay buried in the earth? And would they discover the truth, or become a part of its horrific legacy? The wind howled like a feral beast, wrapping around Sarah and her family as they stumbled away from the barn, hearts racing as if they were caught in a frantic race against time. Each gust brought with it whispers, echoes of laughter that slithered through the air, wrapping them in chilling tendrils that quickened the beat of fear in their veins. "Run faster!" Tom shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony of their surroundings, panic lacing his words. They darted toward the house, but every step seemed to pull them deeper into the grip of the unseen. Shadows danced at the edges of the fields, elongating and contorting as grotesque figures flickered between rows of corn. "Mom, are they watching us?" Jake's breath was ragged, his innocent voice shattering the fragile hope that they could outrun their fate. I don't know, Sarah panted, desperately scanning their surroundings. The field's now a nightmarish labyrinth. We just need to get inside. As they reached the porch, Sarah's hand fumbled on the doorknob, but it felt icy against her skin, as if the very house resisted their entry, reluctant to offer refuge. A growl rumbled from within, deep and guttural, echoing like a sinister warning. "Open the door!" Tom barked, panic rising. He pressed against her, his eyes wide and wild. With a violent shove, the door burst open, revealing the dim interior, shadows jostling around corners. They stumbled inside, slamming the door shut behind them, the pounding heart of the house mirroring their own. "Safe," Sarah.
What was that? Though the walls echoed with secrets, holding on to the horror outside. Jake clung to her leg, his breath unsteady. What was that thing? He was trembling, vulnerable and small against the backdrop of dread. "I don't know, but we have to stay together," she urged, her heart racing. She turned to Tom, his face pale, features drawn tight with anxiety. "We need to figure out what's happening. We can't just hide." As they settled in the living room, an oppressive silence fell. The air was thick, like a fog of impending doom, weaving itself into the very fabric of the house. It felt constricting, watching. The faint click of fingernails on wood echoed from the hallway, a sound so unsettling that it froze Sarah in place. "What was that?" Tom whispered, eyes darting to the darkened corridor. "Shh," Sarah begged, holding her breath. Demons took forms unseen. What was lurking? The wind howled again outside, rattling the windows, and then silence. But that silence didn't feel safe. It was worse, like the calm before an inevitable storm. Headlights danced outside, blaring over the windows, harsh and disorienting. "Who's there?" Tom yelled toward the darkness, tension flaring in a burst of bravado. "Maybe it's help," Jake piped up, voice faltering. Taking a deep breath, Sarah crept to the window, peeking through the thin curtains. The fields lay shrouded in darkness, shadows writhing in the night. A cold shiver cascaded down her spine as she recognized the figures from before, garbed in tattered clothing, moving rhythmically as if caught in a trance, performing an ancient dance. "Sarah, come away from there," Tom urged, his voice low but urgent. But she could not tear her gaze away. They were all connected to something, a rhythm that thrummed through the soil, a dark legacy unfurling beneath their feet. Suddenly, the figures turned their heads in unison, faces obscured but somehow knowing, as if they could see right into Sarah's soul. "Mom, they're looking at us!" Jake shrieked, a raw edge of terror in his voice. And in that moment, a realization washed over Sarah. Whatever it was watching them, it was waiting for an invitation to cross the threshold into their lives. The door rattled ominously behind them, and a low voice crept through the crack. "Join us." As the walls of the house seemed to pulse with anticipation, Sarah's blood ran cold. What would they choose to do next? Would they be able to resist the call of that sinister dance? With dread spiraling in her gut, Sarah turned back to her family, knowing that their next decision could seal their fate forever. The room felt stifling, as if the very air had thickened around them, wrapping them in a damp blanket of fear. Sarah could sense Ton's tension. He was on edge too. The flickering shadows cast by the dim light of the lamps teased their imaginations, morphing into sinister shapes that twisted and turned behind the
furniture. Maybe we should just hide in the basement, Jake suggested, his young voice trembling. No, Sarah snapped, panic clawing at her throat. We can't just sit here waiting. The rattling voice outside echoed again, more pleading this time. Join us. Come into the field. It was seductive, a whisper that crawled beneath her skin, urging her to move toward the beckoning darkness. What if we barricade the door? Tom's eyes darted toward the entrance, riddled with fear. We can't let them in, whatever's out there. A loud thud echoed from the hallway, cutting him off. They all jumped, a collective gasp escaping their lips. Sweat dripped down Sarah's temples as fear coursed through her. She thought of the figures in the field, how they moved, how they watched. Is someone there? Tom shouted, edging toward the sound. His bravado felt like a thin veneer stretched over overwhelming terror. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging them into semi-darkness. Sarah's heart raced as she crouched closer to Jake, who buried his face in her leg. Let's go check it out? Tom whispered, though it sounded more like a challenge to himself than a suggestion. Are you crazy? Sarah hissed. We don't know what's lurking out there. But Tom was already moving, emboldened by a mixture of adrenaline and desperation. Sarah felt her resolve weaken as she caught sight of the door, the ominous rattle pulsating through the wood, begging to be opened. Tom, don't! She shouted, but already he had gripped the knob. The door creaked open slightly, revealing pitch blackness beyond. Just then, a scream pierced the night, a piercing sound that shattered their fragile sense of safety. It felt raw, filled with unfiltered terror. Someone's out there, Jake whimpered, clinging tightly to Sarah. Shut the door! Shut it! She urged, but Tom hesitated, eyes fixed on nothingness. He took one step out, crossing the threshold. Time seemed to slow. The shadows shifted, swirling around him as if alive, and dread squeezed at Sarah's throat. Tom, she ventured, but the word fell flat, lost in the suffocating tension. Suddenly, the door swung wide, and for a fleeting second, Sarah thought she could see the outlines of the figures in the fields converging at the edge of the porch. Their features obscured, yet their eyes glowed in the darkness like a predator that had found its prey. They seemed to close in on Tom, calling to him in a chorus of urgent whispers. The wind picked up, throwing the door wide open. Devoid of reason, almost magnetically drawn, Tom stepped further out into the night. Tom, no! Sarah screamed, but he didn't turn. His eyes glazed over, entranced by something unseen, as if the very air were whispering his name. Join us! The wind shrieked, the terrifying melody pulling Sarah's heart with it. Then, just like that, it stopped. An abrupt silence hung in the air, heavy with expectation. The house creaked ominously, swallowing the quiet as shadows swirled outside, consuming them. Tom, Sarah felt a cold sweat drench her back. The realization hit her. They were running out of time. She had to make a choice. Either abandon him to whatever darkness awaited them, or risk everything to pull him back. A voice crackled through her mind, slippery and insidious. Join us. Fear gnawed at her sanity. She dashed towards the door, breath quickening. Hold on, Tom, she yelled, adrenaline surging. But as she crossed the threshold, an icy grip seized her ankle, dragging her back, screaming. What were they, and what did they want? The wind howled again, almost exultant, as her mind spiraled into madness. Just as she felt it pulling her under, a figure stepped into the doorway. Help me, she cried, realizing it was too late to save Tom. But the figure just stood there, unmoving. In that moment, she understood the terrifying truth. Not all who wander away from the house can find their way back. Would she step into the night to save her family, or would she be lost forever to the call of the dark? The figure standing in the doorway became a chilling silhouette against the backdrop of dense darkness. Sarah's heart raced as she struggled against the grip that held her. It felt like icy fingers wrapping around her leg, squeezing tighter with every futile kick. She gazed up at the figure, desperate for recognition, but it remained obscured, an enigma wrapped in shadow. "Please, help me," her voice cracked, desperation flooding her words. But the figure didn't move. It simply watched her, and she felt the air grow heavier, as if the dark held its breath. Shadows danced around, whispering promises of safety and belonging, but all she felt was an unnerving loneliness that clawed at her soul. "Tom!" she screamed again, hoping against hope that he could hear her and would turn back. The wind shrieked with delight, mocking her cries, a cruel laughter echoing in the air. The figure stepped closer, and suddenly, with a rush, the shadows unveiled a face illuminated by the wavering light. It was her mother, a face she had thought lost forever. The recognition pierced her heart, but something in her mother's eyes was wrong. They were vacant, glassy, as if no soul resided within them. "Join us," her mother crooned, her voice a haunting echo of sweet lullabies now turned bitter, like a twisted version of love. "Mom?" Sarah trembled, stepping back instinctively as fear coursed through her veins. "What happened to you?" The figure stretched out a hand, trembling ever so slightly, caught between warmth and chill. "You can be with us. Just step into the field." All at once, memories flooded her mind. Nights spent in the warmth of her mother's embrace turned sour. The bell by the porch chimed in the wind, loud and discordant, snapping her to attention as that deceptive offering filled her ears. "No, you're not my mother!" Sarah yelled, fury igniting a flicker of rebellion deep inside her. A growl erupted from the shadows, the swirling shapes transforming into grotesque versions of her memories, lost pieces of her past begging her to join in their eternal dance of despair. Reality twisted, suffocating her. "Let her go!" Jake's young voice broke through the cacophony, a ray of innocence piercing the storm. He dashed out suddenly, fueled by fear for his sister. "Please, don't take her!" But as he shouted, the shadows thickened. They writhed around him, circling with insatiable hunger. It was as though they were alive, devouring his courage and drawing closer. "Jake, run!" Sarah screamed. She struggled against the grip holding her, fear giving her strength even as it threatened to consume her. "Join us!" the chorus echoed again, seductive and unyielding. The night crackled with anticipation, shadows eager for her to surrender. The ground beneath her began to tremble, nearly swallowing her whole, as Sarah forced herself to look around. She needed to see Tom, needed to believe he would return to her. She had to know where he was amidst this chaos. And then she saw him. Tom stood transfixed beyond her. His expression was vacant, just like their mother's had been. He was drawn into the field's embrace, eyes glazed and unseeing. The weight of dread threatened to collapse her, and she screamed his name again. But it emerged as a whisper, barely audible over the mocking breeze. "Help me!" she cried, as the darkness around her seemed to pulse, alive with malice and anticipation. As her voice echoed in the night, the wind carried it away, a futile plea lost to the encroaching oblivion. She felt herself slipping, dragged closer to the edge of ruin as whispers slithered into her mind, sweetening temptation. But beneath the growing ache of despair burned a furious spark of defiance. She wouldn't go silently. Suddenly, in a terrifying moment of clarity, she sought for the ground beneath her. With all the strength she could muster, she clawed at the earth, wrenching herself from the icy grip. The shadows recoiled, shrieking. Their whispering turned to shrill cries of fury as she stumbled backward, freeing herself momentarily from their grasp. But the battle wasn't over. With a ragged breath full of panic, she turned and shouted, "All of you, leave us alone!" As her words hurled themselves into the darkness, silence enveloped her for just a heartbeat, a breath caught suspended in the night. Then something shifted behind her, something darker, something worse. And Sarah felt a new dread forming, a terror that twisted in her stomach. What would it take to break free? As the figures began to converge again, drawn towards the sound of her defiance, Sarah knew the true terror was just on the horizon. What awaited her in the darkness beyond? Was freedom even a possibility anymore? Or would the shadows claim every last one of them to join their cursed dance? The shadows lurked closer now, their hunger palpable. Sarah's heart raced as she turned, desperate for an escape, but the field behind her yawned wide, dark and foreboding. The ground heaved under her feet like the earth itself was alive, eager to drag her down into its grave. "Stay back!" she shouted, her voice more defiance than reality. But behind her stood Jake, his small form caught in a dance of terror. And Tom remained lost even further away, pinned beneath the weight of shadows clawing at his resolve. "Sarah!" Jake cried, his voice quivering. She locked eyes with him, tears blurring her view, but his fear quickly morphed into determination. There was courage in those young eyes, a strength that he hadn't realized he possessed. "Hold on," Sarah shouted back, rallying against despair. "We can fight this!" But the shadows swirled, engulfing Tom completely, and the glint in his eyes faded. No! She couldn't lose him too! As an infernal roar echoed in her ears, she lunged forward, breaking free of the grasp that threatened to reclaim her. The air thickened, making every breath a battle. She sprinted toward the remnants of her brother. "Jake, come!" she cried, ready to drag him from the edge of darkness. But as she closed the gap, tendrils of shadow lunged, reaching for her legs, binding her like barbed wire. "Join us!" the whispers crept, relentless in their torment. "No!" she screamed, kicking wildly, eyes wild with panic. The grip held firm, colder, draining the warmth from her blood. Then, a flicker, a flash from the back of her mind. The bell, the sound that had once soothed her, now became a rallying force. With a surge of energy, she screamed out, "I remember you! You can't take me! I will not let go!" The shadows recoiled, their forms momentarily faltering at her declaration, paused as if considering this unexpected resistance. In that moment, she felt the pull of familiarity, a warmth igniting against the icy terror that clutched her. The whispers grew frantic. "Let him be!" she growled, her defiance resonating against the night. With one powerful kick, she tore herself free, lunging toward Jake, reaching desperately for his matted hair, dragging him back toward safety. "Run!" she shouted, heart thundering against her ribs, shouting into the surging tide of madness. But the field swelled with monstrous energy, its darkness beckoning them, a predator hungry for its prey. "Help us, Tom! Come with us!" were the last fruity calls that reached him. But he stood still, statue-like, as though bound by an invisible force. Every second she hesitated made her weaker, her sanity fraying as dread clawed at her. "Sarah, what do we do?" Jake's voice trembled, each syllable stirring the shadows, provoking them to rise higher. "We fight!" She pulled on Jake's hand, instinct guiding them toward the porch, the only haven left in the cyclone of disarray. But the shadows were gaining, thrumming with menace, a reverberating pulse of darkness that promised eternal suffering. With every ounce of her will, Sarah hurled forward, Jake in tow. They collided with the steps at the last moment, the wooden surface flaking beneath their weight. "Close the door," she gasped out, pushing her younger brother through. But as she turned, a shadow moved faster,
a long spike of darkness lunging for her. "No!" she screamed as it grazed her ankle, sending a shock of pain up her leg. She stumbled, and everything seemed to stretch in the deafening chaos. Her heart might burst from her chest. Suddenly, Tom's voice, lifeless, draped in sorrow, cut through the looming terror. "Sarah, join us." Her blood ran cold. It was his voice, but twisted. "Let him go!" Sarah shouted, adrenaline igniting her legs, pulling her up the last step toward safety. As she shut the door, sealing herself and Jake within, she felt the weight of the pounding on the edges, shadows raging, furious at being denied. What now?" Jake asked, trembling against her. She knew fear was stealing at seconds. They couldn't stay here, not forever. The shadows would come for them. But in this moment, could she find a way to bring Tom back from the brink? Waves of darkness pressed against the door. The finality of voices clawed at the silence, a chorus of despair rising into a chilling crescendo. Maybe there's still hope," she said, choking back tears as the shadows surged against the wood, relentless. But suddenly, she caught the glint of something shimmering in the dark, a flicker of light that seemed to shimmer just out of reach. "What was that?" Jake's breath quickened. Something out there," she replied, dread pooling in her stomach. As she peered through the window, hesitation mirrored in her brother's eyes. They exchanged a look of terrified understanding. Whatever lay outside could be the key to their freedom or their doom. And just then, the door shuddered under their combined force. Would they face what waited beyond together? Or would they lose everything to the darkness enveloping them? The answers stirred in her mind, entwined with the night full of secrets yet revealed. The door trembled again, a hungry pulse of darkness pushing against their fragile barrier. Sarah pressed her back against it, bracing against the weight that threatened to spill into their refuge. Jake's small body quivered beside her, eyes wide with fear, the echoes of their surroundings melding into an inescapable symphony of dread. "Keep quiet," she whispered fiercely, though her own voice betrayed her fear. The shadows howled outside, a cacophony of despair that felt all too personal, as if they were clawing with hands that had once belonged to those they loved. "What do you think is out there?" Jake asked, his voice cracking under the pressure of terror. "I don't know," she breathed, squeezing his shoulder. "But we can't let them in." The shimmering light from outside flickered again, more vibrant this time. It pulsed softly, casting eerie patterns against the walls. It's coming from the barn," Jake noted, eyes darting toward the darkened window. "Stay here," she instructed, though fear unraveled her resolve. The barn, a place once filled with echoes of laughter, now twisted into something unrecognizable. What if it held the key to Tom, perhaps a remnant of his spirit still desperately searching for an escape? "Sarah," Jake pleaded, gripping her arm, but she could already feel the pull of the light, a magnetic whisper promising hope in the chaos. "Just wait, okay? I'll be right back." In a swift motion, she turned and flung the front door open. The shadows surged, shrieking against the crack of light, but Sarah didn't let it close. She dashed toward the barn, her legs moving faster than her mind could process. As she ran, claws of darkness lashed at her, a searing sensation tracing her arms and back. Yet each step fueled her determination. The bell rang louder in her head. Memories of her brother's laughter echoed as if guiding her. She reached the barn, its vast doors creaking ominously as she opened them. Inside, the light pulsated against the hay-strewn floor, illuminating fractured shadows that flickered and danced like restless spirits. Stray beams broke through gaps in the walls, wrapping the space in an otherworldly glow. "Tom!" she shouted, voice wavering yet strong enough to seek him out. "Is that you?" At first, silence reigned.
broken only by the rattling breath of wind sweeping through the beams. She stepped deeper inside. Shadows flickered, morphing into grotesque visages that bore nothing redeemable. Features twisted in agony, lost to despair. Then she saw it, a shape at the far end, a flicker of something more than darkness. Tom? The figure turned slowly, revealing a face she once loved, now marred by shadows. His eyes glimmered, haunted but alive. "Sarah," he whispered, broken and sorrowful. "Join us." "No, I won't let you take him," she screamed, the anguish churning in her chest. The light flickered frantically, a contest of strength between the pureness of hope and the encroaching malevolence. "You need to fight, Tom," she shouted, desperately searching for the brother she knew beneath the surface. His face contorted, a mask of anguish and determination. "It's so hard. I can't." The shadows converged, howling in a chorus of rage, a tornado of despair circling tighter around Sarah. She felt it, the overwhelming grip of darkness trying to drown her spirit, to impose its will upon her. "Tom, just reach for me," she yelled, the bell ringing loudly in her mind. There, a flicker of recognition sparked in his eyes as he lifted one hand, wavering weakly. She lunged forward, reaching out. But the shadows shifted, pouring from the corners of the barn like living ink. They wrapped around Tom, pulling him to a chilling void. "Sarah, help!" he cried, his voice strained and desperate. "Hold on!" she screamed, her voice a lifeline to him. The barn erupted with chaos as repressed emotions and dark intentions collided. The shimmering light pulsed violently, threatening to extinguish as shadows swallowed it whole. Without thinking, Sarah stumbled backward, her heart pounding against her ribcage. She had to retreat. "Jake!" she shouted, realizing she had left him alone. With one final glance at the desperate figure of her brother, she turned and dashed out, the darkness swirling around her, furious at the escape. The shadows chased her, a monstrous entity with a single intent: to consume all hope. As she burst through the door to find Jake, he was still frozen in place, eyes wide in horror. "What's happening?" he gasped. "Run," was all she managed to say before the door slammed behind her, an eerie chuckle echoing as the walls trembled. The barn no longer felt like a safe haven. Panic consumed her as she locked eyes with her brother, knowing that whatever power was lurking would not let them go easily. "Where do we go now?" Jake whimpered, his small hands trembling. The very ground beneath their feet began to shift, the cries of the shadows echoing around them. They were no longer just fighting for Tom. Now, survival was paramount. But darkness breathed, drawing closer, reverberating like thunder as it surrounded them, engulfing all hope. "Back inside," Sarah commanded, her heart racing. There was nowhere left to hide, but deep inside, a flicker of determination ignited. "We can't let it win." As they stepped towards the door once more, shadows rippled like a storm about to break, the eerie whispers building to a crescendo. But then, just above the cacophony, a glimmer sparkled in the shadows, revealing something that could change everything. Its glow pulled at Sarah, promising answers, willing her to come closer. What lay hidden in this haunting darkness, and would it be enough to save Tom, or destroy them all? The barn creaked ominously as Sarah and Jake stood at the threshold, breath hitching in their throats. The shimmering light beckoned them. It promised salvation, but also hinted at peril. Behind them, the shadows surged, ravenous and howling, a wall of darkness poised to overwhelm. "Sarah, we can't go back in there," Jake whispered, clutching her hand tightly. "We have to take the risk," she insisted, heart pounding like a war drum. The flicker of hope in the barn's depths was undeniable, but so was the grim reality lurking behind them. "Stay close to me." With one last glance back, They stepped inside, and the door slammed shut with a resounding crash, echoing like a death knell. The pulsating light swirled faster now, casting grotesque shadows that clawed at every corner, dancing in their deranged glee. "Tom," Sarah called again, desperation clawing at her vocal cords. Was he still there, trapped between hope and despair? The answer came when the shadows answered her call with a deafening silence, punctuated only by the fear-laden whimpers of her brother at her side. Just then, a figure emerged from the light. It was larger, darker. Sarah squinted, heart racing as she tried to make sense of it. "Tom?" The entity stepped, clay reshaping endlessly, as if it could become anything or anyone. "Jake, move!" Sarah screamed, feeling the weight of despair clutch at her throat. She could feel the ground pulling her deeper, yet she fought with instinct, claws ripping at the dirt, searching for salvation. "Get back!" Jake shouted, adrenaline-powered desperation flooding his voice. He darted sideways, searching for anything that could act as a weapon. His eyes landed on a sturdy pitchfork leaning against the barn wall. With a surge of hope, he lunged for it, his pulse racing in time with the frantic chaos around them. But Sarah's focus remained on the shifting figure, trembling, almost pleading. "Please, Tom, just listen to me." But in that moment, doubt struck her like lightning. Could this shadow truly be her brother? Or was it a trap meant to snare her heart? The shadows twisted violently around her ankles, and she felt the coldness seep into her bones. Each pulse of warm light seemed to ignite the dark power, sending a shudder of rage erupting through. The barn's walls began to pulse as though alive, fed by that flickering source of energy and the ancient symbols that danced dangerously close to life's edge. "Sarah!" Jake bellowed, clutching the pitchfork, his eyes scanning the room for a target. "You have to let go! It's not him!" But how can you let go of hope? The tiny flickers of Tom she wanted to see had become lost in the monstrous figure, twisting and laughing like a taunt. "Please," the voice again, layered with pain. It was Tom, and yet it wasn't. A scream erupted from Sarah, a mix of rage and grief, as she lunged toward the figure, believing she could somehow break its hold. Jake swung the pitchfork wildly. "Back! Back, I say!" The metal glinted, creating fleeting reflections on the creaking barn walls before he thrust it forward, aiming for the shadowy form. The moment the pitchfork made contact, an explosion of darkness erupted from the impact, rippling across the air like a wave of agony. It shrieked, a cacophonous wail that pierced the tension, momentarily halting the suffocating grip on Sarah's legs. But all it did was draw attention. The creature twisted, its empty eyes fixed on Jake with predatory intent. Shadows surged around the pitchfork, swallowing it whole, darkening everything in its path. "Help!" he yelled, a primal edge creeping into his voice as he started to back away, desperate and afraid. Sarah's heart raced, a storm of emotion swirling within her. "Jake!" she cried, but the stranglehold of shadows around her tightened. The warmth from the symbols pulsed as if in response to her fear, but it also beckoned. "Jake, grab the light! It might protect us!" But as he turned, shadow tendrils lunged, wrapping cruelly around his waist, dragging him backward, his terrified eyes meeting hers as he struggled against their suffocating grip. "Don't let go, Sarah!" Tears burned her eyes. "I won't!" she screamed, clawing her way toward him. The swirling mass of shadows around them pulsed with hunger, the very air vibrating with sinister energy. The barn groaned, alarmed, as if desperate to rid itself of the nightmare consuming it. And then, a whisper, dark and chilling. "You can't resist the darkness. Join us." In that instant, the flickering symbols on the walls ignited brighter, illuminating everything.
Sarah felt drawn to them. "Fight it! Don't give in," she urged, heart racing, wishing she could reach him through the darkness. But the shadows touted their grip on her brother's mind, threatening to envelop them both in its suffocating embrace. Sarah's fingers brushed the glowing runes one more time, desperation fueling her movements. The barn shook as shadows bubbled and thickened, consuming the light. As Sarah's scream echoed, the shadowy entity writhing, twisted. But what emerged next could shatter their world completely. What truth lay hidden beneath the shadows? Would they find escape or plunge into madness forever? The barn quaked under the weight of their struggle, an impossible cacophony of fear echoing through its walls. Shadows screamed, desperate to engulf Sarah and Jake, clawing at their feet, eager to pull them down into darkness. "Hold on," Sarah shouted, every ounce of her spirit flaring against the onslaught. The pulsating symbols on the walls flickered uncertainly, caught in a battle with the oppressive force swimming around them. She was filled with rage and desperation, heart racing. The darkness roared, surging forward as if alive with its own intent. "Join us," it echoed, voices harmonizing into a sickening lullaby that clawed at her sanity. "Tom," she cried, searching for some semblance of the brother she loved amid the chaos. "You have to fight this. You're still with us." But he was lost in the abyss. The shape lunged closer, haunting echoes mingled with his face, contorting, shifting. She couldn't let him drown in that horror. "Jake, grab that light! It's the key!" she shouted, wishing she could get to him. For a moment, their desperate gazes met, hope weaving that fragile thread of connection in a darkness threatening to sever them entirely. With a flick of determination, Jake inched back toward the glowing runes, fighting against the tendrils that sought to ensnare him as they wrapped tighter around his shoulders. "Sarah, it's too strong!" he yelled, his voice choked with fear. But in that very instant, the air changed. The light surged brighter, as if in response to their fear. It pulsed against the darkness like a heartbeat. "Focus," Sarah urged, remembering that warmth. The memory of Tommy's laughter, echoes of family washed with daylight's embrace. The shadows hissed, retreating slightly from the fierce glow, uncertain, hungry. The glow held potential. It flickered beneath the veil of despair. "You have to believe," she called to Jake, her own heart trembling, but steadying at the sight of his struggle. "Together!" With a sharp breath and a mighty resolve, she bolted toward the runes. Every step liberating a fraction of her spirit from the depths of dread. The shadows recoiled, furious at the sudden light. "No, you will pay!" they howled. But Jake followed her call, lunging toward the runes with fierce determination. Their worlds intertwined, a shared heartbeat in the battle for survival as they pressed their palms against the illuminated symbols. A wash of warmth enveloped them. Sarah gasped, flooded with energy that fought against the clutches of darkness. Fragments of long-lost memories surged within her, laughter, warmth of sunlight, gentle embraces. Each resonated, propelling courage through her veins. "Fight it, Tom! We love you!" she bellowed, recalling everything they had been through. She could feel the weight of his spirit beneath the surface, trembling as the shadows around him tightened their grip. For a fleeting moment, she saw his frantic visage split between anguish and plea. "Sarah, help me!" The anguish fragmented. She could feel her love for him piercing through that veil of despair. At that moment, Jake gripped her hand tightly. She could feel his pulse, a flicker of shared strength igniting the air. "Ready?" Sarah yelled, igniting their resolve as they continued to channel the light. "On 3. 1, 2, 3!" They pushed forward, merging their spirits with the force pulsing from the symbols. The shadows screeched. Light burst forth, enveloping the barn in an explosion of searing brilliance. Then, a cataclysmic crack echoed through the barn as shadows recoiled violently, screaming in outrage as the glow surged toward them. Tom's eyes widened, filled with both terror and recognition. "Sarah!"
His voice grew steadier through the din, the remnants of the past shimmering in his gaze. "Come back to us," she pleaded. In that moment, the shadows began to fracture, shrieks of agony rising as they twisted violently away from the light. The barn convulsed, warped under the pressure of their connection, love tearing at the veil of darkness. "Join us," the shadows still whispered, but their call weakened, echoes cracked and fading against the brilliance. Then, through it all, Sarah felt the tendril stretching taut around Tom dissolve, his form breaking free of the darkness like light shattering through a storm. "Sarah!" he exclaimed, reaching for her, his voice imbued with longing. "Tom!" she shouted back, but before she could move, the shadows exploded outward, ricocheting against the walls, shattering under the weight of their defiance. As the last of the darkness pulled back, the air hummed with peace, while the barn showered in warmth, illuminated by the blaze of freedom and love. Tom stumbled forward, crossing the light's threshold, and Sarah clasped his hands, grounding their connection in the chaos. "Are you okay?" she gasped, fear and relief swirling within her. Yeah, I'm back," he whispered, brushing off the remnants of despair clinging to him. A flicker of laughter, barely rising, but palpable. "Mom, is she—" Jake began, eyes darting around. "Your mother, she's gone, but she fought too." The words hung heavy in the air, a shadow of loss, but light broke through the barn's windows, reverberating anew, shining hope for something better amidst despair. As they slowly stepped through the shattered remnants of horror, they felt the warmth of each other. Each heartbeat a promise of life, unyielding in the wake of darkness. Sarah looked to the horizon, where light broke through the clouds, a miracle unfolding with the dawn. "We will rebuild," she said, conviction resonating in her chest. Together, they stepped into the endless possibilities of a new day, a mark against the horror they had escaped, a mosaic of hope where shadows once thrived. This is where their story ends, but their hearts beat strongly, fed by love, scarred by the past, but unyielding in the bright embrace of the future. And now, if you felt the thrill of this journey, you need to subscribe to our channel. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comments with your reactions. What do you think of the Greene family's fight? Share this video with at least 5 friends who really need to experience this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Your support means everything.